usually take my dog out for a walk, twice a day. His name is Bruno. He's pretty calm, most of the time, but on weekends, when I have more free time, I like taking him on longer walks. This happened on a Saturday. The sky was cloudy, the air felt heavy, humid, and for some reason, everything just felt off. I decided to take a longer route, one of those walks that goes on for almost an hour. We ended up in a part of the neighborhood I wasn't too familiar with. And that's when I found a trail. It was part of a large nature preserve. The path was narrow, trees on both sides, and completely empty. No people, no noise, just us. Bruno was walking ahead, pulling harder than usual, excited about all the new smells. After a while, we came across a small park. It had a swing set, a playground, and what used to be a basketball court. But there were no hoops anymore. We stepped inside through a small opening. Honestly, I just wanted to sit down for a minute. I was getting tired, but the second I sat down, Bruno started acting strange. He began pulling hard, then barking toward the woods. That wasn't normal. He only does that when he sees something, another animal, or sometimes a person. So I stood up and gave him a little more slack. I figured maybe he saw something. I looked into the trees. Nothing. But the closer we got, the more aggressive he became, to the point where he was practically choking himself, trying to drag me into the woods. And then, a man stepped out from behind a tree, like he had been standing there the whole time. He laughed and said, "Whoa, okay, you got me." That immediately felt wrong. I apologized for my dog and started walking away, but the way he came out of that tree, it wasn't normal. He didn't look like someone just walking around. He looked like someone who was hiding. He said, "It's all good, man." And then, he started walking in the same direction as us. Bruno kept looking back, growling, low and constant. I kept moving forward, but now I was uncomfortable. Finally, I turned around. I asked if he needed something, because at this point, he had followed us out of the park and back onto the trail. He raised his hands, smiling, and said he just wanted to pet my dog. I said, "No, he doesn't like you." And I kept walking, faster now. He didn't respond, but he didn't leave either. Every time I looked back, he was still there. Same distance, half hidden behind the trees, like he thought I couldn't see him. That's when it hit me. Something wasn't right about this guy. I started running, back down the trail, through the park, and out to the street. Bruno kept looking back, but I had to pull him to keep going. We ran all the way home, didn't stop once. A couple hours passed. I was in bed, Bruno lying right next to me. Everything felt normal again, until suddenly, he lifted his head and started growling at the window. At first, I thought it was the rain. It had just started. But then, I heard a voice right outside my window. It was him. I recognized it instantly, and he said, "Do you know why I was in the woods?" My heart dropped. Bruno went crazy, barking. I jumped up and looked toward the window. I couldn't see his face, just his silhouette, standing there, watching me. I yelled, asking what he wanted, and he calmly said, "Did you see what I was doing?" I told him no. He asked again, "Are you sure?" My voice was shaking when I said yes. There was a pause, then he said, "Okay." And just like that, he walked away. His silhouette, gone. Bruno stopped growling. I shut the window, locked it, but I couldn't sleep that night. I ended up calling the police. I told them someone had followed me and came to my window. They said if he came back, to call again. Apparently, it was a busy night. He never came back. Thank God. But even now, I can't stop thinking about what he said. Did you see what I was doing? Because if he was worried that I did, then that means there was something in those woods. Something I was never supposed to see. It was the middle of December, in the Vermont countryside, and when I say countryside, I mean, nothing around, just woods. That night, I was staying at a friend's place watching his dog, Chester. He asked me to do him a favor, and I said yes, without really thinking about it, because that night, it was freezing outside, like painfully cold. And the problem was, I couldn't just let Chester out. There were no fences. If he ran into the woods, he could just disappear. So, yeah, I had to walk him. My friend gave me this old leash. It was blue, kinda dirty, and honestly, it already looked weak, but Chester didn't care. The second I clipped it on, he got excited and immediately started pulling me toward the door. That's when I realized this was not going to be a quick walk. The moment I stepped outside, the cold hit me hard, like it knocked the air out of me. I just wanted to get this over with, so I started jogging a little, trying to warm up. Chester suddenly stops. He goes over to one of the trees by the dirt road, sniffing around. I figured, okay, he's about to do his thing and we can go back, but then he just froze. His ears went up and he started staring straight into the woods. Then he started barking loud, deep, and it echoed through everything, and before I could react, he started pulling hard like he was trying to get to something. I tried to hold him back, but then the leash snapped just like that and Chester ran straight into the woods. He was gone in seconds. I could still hear him barking at first, but it kept getting quieter until it completely stopped. I ran after him, yelling his name, thinking maybe he was chasing something, but out there, with just my phone light, I couldn't see anything. After a while, I just stopped standing there, calling his name over and over, and that's when I heard it. Footsteps close by. At first, I felt relieved. I thought Chester was coming back, but then I realized the footsteps were too slow, too heavy. It didn't sound like a dog, it sounded like a person. I immediately turned off my phone light and just stood there in the dark, listening. The footsteps kept moving, but not in one direction. They were circling me, and I couldn't tell if they knew I was there or if they were just wandering, so I started backing up slowly, trying not to make a sound, and after a few seconds, the footsteps stopped completely, and I didn't know if they walked away or if they were just standing still, but I felt a little less tense, so I started walking faster, trying to get back to the road, and then I saw something ahead of me, just a dark figure standing there, facing away from me. I slowed down, my heart was pounding, but for some reason, I thought maybe this person could help, so I said, "Hey, have you seen a dog out here?" No response. They didn't move at all. Their hood was up, so I couldn't see their face. I hesitated for a second. Then I stepped closer and reached out, put my hand on their shoulder, and instantly, something felt wrong. It was hard, not like a person, more like wood. So I moved in front of it, and that's when I saw there was nothing there. No face, no body, just empty clothes, a hood and a stick, holding it up like some kind of dummy. And in that moment, everything clicked. That thing was not what I heard walking around me, which meant whatever made those footsteps was still out there somewhere. I didn't even think. I just ran straight back to the road, up the hill and into the house. I didn't go back for Chester, and he never came back. Telling my friend was the worst part. He hated me after that, and honestly, I don't blame him. But what still bothers me the most is what happened later that night. I had a dream. I was in my room and I could hear Chester out in the woods, but he wasn't barking. He was whining like he was hurt or scared. I woke up immediately, went to the window and looked out into the woods, hoping that maybe it was real, but it wasn't. Everything was completely silent. I still don't know what happened to him. I don't know why that dummy was out there, and I don't know who or what was walking around me that night, and honestly, I don't think I ever want to know. I was about 10 years old when my parents let us get our first dog. I'm the middle child, and it was always my older brother and I who had to walk her. Her name was Luna. She was a golden retriever, really friendly, really trusting, probably a little too trusting. My brother would walk her in the afternoon after school, and I'd take her out at night. I don't remember what kind of night it was. I don't remember if it was cold or warm, or even what day of the week it was. The only thing I remember clearly is what happened. I was about halfway through our walk when Luna suddenly stopped and looked across the street. Her tail started wagging, and then she began barking and pulling on the leash. There was a man walking a small dog on the other side of the street. Before I could even react, he crossed over toward me, like he had already decided our dogs were going to meet. His dog was tiny, white and fluffy, probably a Maltese, but it didn't seem excited at all. If anything, it looked nervous, like it didn't want to be there. The man asked me my name, and without thinking, I told him. He told me his too, but I don't remember it. We started talking about the dogs. He seemed really interested in Luna, and she actually seemed to like him. Looking back, that's probably the part that bothers me the most. At some point, he told me his golden retriever had recently passed away and that he had a bunch of toys, collars, and other dog stuff he didn't need anymore. He said I could have it. I was 10 years old, so to me that just sounded like I got lucky. He said his house was right around the corner and started walking. I followed him. The walk there felt quiet, a little awkward. We were walking in the street, and there weren't many cars around, but something about it just didn't feel right. I just couldn't explain why at the time. When we got to his house, he let me walk in first. That alone should have been a red flag. The house looked normal. Nothing really stood out. He led me into the kitchen and let his dog run off into another room. Then he asked me to sit on one of the stools and offered me something to eat. I said yes, and he handed me a bag of chips. Some off-brand I didn't recognize. He sat down right next to me, really close, and started petting Luna. After a few seconds, he glanced down at the chips like he was waiting for me to open them, but I didn't. I just set them on the counter, and we sat there in silence for a moment. I was waiting for him to go get the stuff he had promised, but he didn't. Instead, he started asking me questions, personal questions, trying to make small talk, but it felt off, like he was trying to learn too much about me. Then at one point, he reached over and patted my knee. That's when everything changed. I suddenly felt this overwhelming sense of discomfort, like something was very wrong. So I asked him about the dog stuff again, the toys, the collar, everything he mentioned. He said he'd go get it, but then he said something strange. He said, "It's not up here," and walked off through one of the doorways. A few seconds later, I heard him going downstairs, into the basement. Then he called out to me, "Hey, come down here, you gotta see this." I stood up and walked toward the basement door, still trying to decide if I should go down. And that's when Luna started growling. Not down the stairs, but towards something in the darkness, just behind the open door. I looked, and I saw someone, crouched down, completely still, hiding in the dark. I didn't think, I didn't say anything. I just left. I walked out of that house as fast as I could, and ran all the way home. That night, I didn't tell anyone. I just went to my room, feeling shaken and confused. It was the first and only time in my life I felt like someone had targeted me, just because I was a kid. To this day, I'm convinced there were two men in that house, and I know one thing for sure. If I had gone down into that basement, one of them would have shut the door behind me. I never told my family. It made me uncomfortable, and honestly, a little embarrassed. But telling it like this feels different.